reactions from fear and move beyond that to respond in love to whatever challenges come into our life, and that's called growing up. So we really have a population of a lot of immature people, and we've been purposely conditioned through the television, the news, the radio, the music even is very codependent. You know, I'm going to lose my boyfriend and I can't live without you kind of thing. We really have to learn to be responsible for ourselves, love ourselves, and take positive action, and that creates the world around us. It's not who's out there. We create it, and we become a magnet, and then they come to us because we're like-minded.
And you know what else? Here's like a catch-22 if you think about it. The teachers, like our parents or whatever that taught us and who taught them before, if they were taught wrong or were in fear-based, so when they teach us, they're not teaching us the right way, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
That's what happened to me. Exactly. I was a terrific sponge. My dad was an alcoholic. My mother was mentally ill, paranoid schizophrenic. And my stepdad was a sex addict. And so there was a lot of dysfunction, very low energy. And I literally, through becoming a spiritual person on a spiritual path, have been able to move out of that victimsville and move into a higher consciousness than my parents would have not really ever understood. They just didn't they went through the Great Depression, and they just wouldn't have understood a lot of this. And they were very church-minded, and people are taught to think in a box. That's what churches are about, the dogma. And when you become spiritual, you learn to think for yourself and think out of the box. You move into the love of the universe rather than to stay in the church beliefs.
Let me ask you this: do you, when you do readings, can you talk or see person's guides or their protectors?
On occasion, I can. Sometimes I gave my daughter, she's out of town and came to visit this weekend, and I gave her a reading. Usually people are just pretty much interested in what's going on with them and not necessarily how the information's coming through. But I can and definitely have been told, like in one case, a person was, I was getting information for her situation, and her angel showed up and literally opened up the book of life and told me what to read out of it, and then covered up the rest of the page and said she's not supposed to know this part yet. So yeah, they can appear to me and give me answers and give me information. A lot of times I just read your energy. She was asking me about some fellows in her life, and so I saw the energy of these 3 different fellows and told her where they were as far as their maturity, I guess you'd say.
Right.
And so that she's trying to figure out where she wants to go forward in these relationships. And so I think it was helpful for her to have that information. So we can learn so much and make better decisions. It's kind of like Pinocchio had Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder, and to let your conscience be your guide. But we also need somebody to validate it and reinforce that you are on the right path.
Well, let me ask you this. Can you see my guide or my protector or talk to him?
Well, I'll tell you, what I would need to do is to get myself in a situation where I was prepared to do that. And then
I understand.
Yeah, right now it just isn't popping right in because I'm focused on doing this right now.
Not a problem.
I'm sorry.
That's not a problem. No biggie. I didn't know.
We can do it at another time if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great. I was just curious. I know everybody's different and they have different techniques and everybody's abilities are different. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Not a big deal. And hey, let me ask you this. What do you do anything for protection? Because do you ever come across some maybe negative stuff that might want to poke you or something or try to distract you?
I think that's a really good question because I know some people that haven't done protection work. Fortunately, when I channel, I have a gatekeeper. Now, this is the old-fashioned way of being a medium. Mediums connect with archangels and higher consciousness. Like Jesus, I connect with Jesus, Mother Mary, and masters that have ascended, like, besides Jesus. And so when you do that kind of thing, you want to have a gatekeeper, or even if you're just channeling, if Uncle John is going to come in, you want to protect yourself from the lower energy.
Right.
So there are prayers that you say to protect yourself, because you don't want, and I've been in a couple situations where low energies came in, and I just went the other way because that's not where I'm coming from. Now, what also, this gatekeeper of mine is called Martha, and she protects me also. She is invisible. She's like an angel would be. She's more like a guide, I guess you'd say. She keeps other entities from being able to access my channeling. So I'm only coming from the highest, truest, and the best. And so she comes in first, and then if I'm channeling John the Divine or St. John, then she says, well, John's here and he's ready to come in. But she is my protector, and I've been very blessed that my real father was a guide and was my first gatekeeper, but as I progressed into higher consciousness, he bowed out so Martha could come in. And she's the sister of Lazarus from the Bible, very high consciousness. And
Wow.
So it's very important that you do put yourself into protection. There's a very famous, and I won't give her name on the air, who's written lots of books. She has YouTubes out, and lots of people have been following her for years, and somehow a lower consciousness got hold of her. And it's really sad because she's a lovely person, but her message is not the same as it used to be. So if it's negative, go the other way. If it's positive, it's of God.
Right. And let me ask you this question. In your travels, do you ever come across somebody that they may not on the surface be a negative person, but maybe they have a negative attachment or some negativity around them? Can you pick up on that? And if so, does it ever try to, poke you or get in your space?
I can pick up. I had a client that actually had 5 entities attached to him.
Wow.
He had been diagnosed as bipolar disorder, and he was smoking, and he had quite a few issues. And he was basically a pretty decent person, and he was trying to release all these entities and move into this higher place that you're talking about, where you pass out love and you're having good, positive feelings and attitudes. And I've actually done lots of exorcisms. And what happens is when you realize that these are energy, they're just negative energy, and they have no power. Nothing that is negative has power unless you give them power. So when I'm sitting there, I have more power than the negative energy has. In exorcisms, the last one I did took 3 hours. It was a tough one because she kept letting them back in. But generally in a couple hours, depending on how deep the energy is that is manifesting, sometimes I can release them in an hour, and generally it's a couple hours. And this last one was really a tougher one, cost her more money because I charge by the hour. But the point is, it was necessary for her to move out of that space, and the only way we could do it, we just went at it until we finally got things cleaned out. And yes, I do feel the energy. It doesn't have to affect me because I'm protected in that love. So if I'm in protection, I know I have the power. It has to do what I say.
Yeah. Let me ask you, with these negative stuff, so then you help them. You help these people. That's a great thing, and a lot of people, I bet, they're glad they met you. I would think.
Well, I appreciate your saying that. I just had somebody call me purposely the other day, and she was in one of my classes, and she'd gone through a lot of abuse and some things that came out in class. She called me, and she says, what you said totally cleared away my shame, and she wanted to thank me. So, yes, people do seem to appreciate it.
Yeah, because, wow. And I agree. I mean, a lot of negativity is only as strong as what people feed it, and that's again, you're your own worst enemy. And let me ask you this: what few things can you think of that people should avoid that would attract or feed into this negativity that they should avoid?
Well, that's a good question. If you have something that's taking all your focus off of, if you're focusing on somebody else, or you're focusing on sports, or you're focusing on whatever your financial worries, or your job situation, or a boyfriend, if you're really obsessed with that kind of thing, you really need to get to a counselor and get your mind on something positive. So you want to avoid, my first thing would say, don't get the newspapers, they're biased. Don't watch television news because it's biased. Be careful of what movies you go to, if they're lighthearted and happy type shows. I don't even go to the movies anymore because so many of them are violent. That lowers your energy. So, and be careful of the food you eat. So that we mentioned, GMOs and toxic foods, and alcohol lowers your energies. Prescriptions lower your energy so that you don't have that positive energy of love. So it literally stops it. So to stay away from people that are uncomfortable to be around, because that also stops your growing and getting beyond. So if you're around people that are in conflict and arguing all the time, you don't need to be in those kind of situations. I'm very cautious about what I eat and what I see and what I hear. I actually, in my case, there's a lot of music out there that isn't worth anything because it really is just as negative as possible, hard rock for one. So I listen to the classical, Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, that kind of music, and because it's really comes straight from high energy, and it's really very therapeutic, actually. Listening to there was a book years ago written on the Mozart effect. The music is it's like a meditation when you're listening to it. So, be careful what music you go hear. I actually was at a play in Seattle recently, and I walked out in the middle of it. I just didn't need to sit there and watch domestic violence on the stage. I'd been there, thank you. So, I'm very cautious about where I put myself today. If it's positive, I love to go have a good time. I can play golf, or I can, read a great book, or play some really super music and enjoy it. I can go play the piano. I can do artwork in my case. There's a lot of positive things you can have in your life. And the best thing anybody can do is to help another person. We are here to serve. We are here to share that energy. As I said, God is energy in expansion. And when you share with another person, you feel good. If you're out helping with your food bank, if you're volunteering, my boyfriend does 2 days a week at the Museum of Flight. He volunteers. He used to drive a shuttle, but now he's not able to do that anymore to get seniors to doctor appointments. So if you're out there helping people, you're going to feel terrific, and this negative stuff isn't even going to be. It's not an issue anymore.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Marilyn. We only got a couple minutes left. Why don't you tell everybody if you got any websites or anything you want to promote or share? Go ahead. You got about a minute and a half.
Okay. My website is Angelica's Gifts. ANGELICASGIFTS.com, or you can Google me. My books are at Amazon.com, and they're all about what we've been talking about. And my blog is MarilynRedmondBooks.blogspot.com. And I have about 163 YouTubes with lectures, interviews, and spiritual communication where I've channeled. And I have a couple more ready to go up that are just recent and current. So there's a lot of ways to reach me. You can call me at 253-845-4907, 253-845-4907, or email me at Marilyn@angelicasgifts.com, MARILYN @angelicasgifts.com. So there's a lot of ways to get in touch with me. If you can't remember any of this, just Google me. I've got a lot of articles and the various things that I've done on the Internet. So I'd love to be able to answer questions, or if people are interested in readings or counseling, spiritual counseling.